Approximately 70 years ago, the scientists discovered that the universe is ruled by four fundamental forces, which are gravity, the electromagnetism, the strong nuclear forces, and the weak nuclear forces. Basically, they told us that if we could unify all of those forces into a single equation, we will be able to formulate a theory of everything. For understanding the universe itself, we need to follow the deepest laws of it. I mean, the quantum ones. But there is a problem. The quantum theory is incomplete because of it only explains three of the four fundamental forces. And so that's the objective of the string theory, to find a concept for quantum gravity. The first point says that the inner structure of the elemental particles will not be really represented by dots. Instead, those elemental particles will be really represented by strings, and depending on the way that those strings oscillate, a different elemental particle is going to be created. The same thing happens when we play an string instrument. Depending on which of the strings that we play, a different musical note is going to be created. The second point says that besides the four dimensions that we use to see and perceive, there are other 7 dimensions which are compacted in quantum scales. That means that we can see any of the objects that lives in them, unless that we have a really powerful microscope, which we haven't developed yet. So let's take a look at the following example. As you can see, this far, the ball appears to have only 2 dimensions, the height and the width. So what would happen if we take it nearer to us? Well, as you can see, at this point, we are able to see the third dimension, which is the depth. So, what would happen if we could develop that powerful microscope that I told you before in order to reach the Planck scales? Basically, we will be able to see all of the strings that conforms this ball. So, the real point here is that depending on how far we are from one object, we will be able to see more or less dimensions. The third point says that the strings needed something to give them energy to vibrate, and that they also needed something to hold them on. So, here is where the membranes get into the game. In this situation, their hands has the same function as the membranes, because at the same time that they are holding on the string, they are transferring energy to make it oscillate. The fourth point says that there is an infinite amount of universes. That means multiverses. And at the same time, this fourth point says that depending on the way that the extra dimensions and that the brains are compacted at quantum scales, that universe is going to have some physics laws or another ones. So, obviously there are infinitely many ways of compacting those membranes and compacting those dimensions. So, it is just like if we had a piece of paper. There are at least thousands of different ways of compacting that. We could roll it, we could just fold it, we could make a ball, or we could just make a little beautiful plane. Well, I was never good at all making planes, but that's another case. So let's consider the following example. There are infinitely many ways of creating an universe, and that the universe where we live is a specific combination of all of those probabilities. Eureka! If this theory resulted to be truth, we'll be able to answer the most fundamental questions. From where do we come? Where do we go? And especially how all of this began.